Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 4, Text 10. Tamanukushavarta ilavarto brahmavarto malayah ketur bhadrasena indras prigvidarbha kikata iti navanavati pradhanaha tam him anu following kushavarta ilavarta brahmavarta malayah Malay is coming from here. Ketu Bhadrasena Indrasprik Vidarbha Kikata iti thus navati 90 pradhanaha older than. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: Following Bharata, there were 99 other sons. Among these were 9 elderly sons, namely Kushavarta, Ilavarta, Brahmavarta, Malaya, Ketu, Bhadrasena, Indrasprik, Vidarbha and Kikata. Please repeat. Following Bharata, there were 99 other sons. Among these were 9 elderly sons, named Kushavarta, Ilavarta, Brahmavarta, Malaya, Ketu, Bhadrasena, Indrasprig, Vidarbha and Kikata. That's all. See whether the audio is coming through properly or not. Huh? So we'll go to the next verses 11 and 12. Kavirhavir antarikshah prabuddhah pippalayanah avirhotrotha drumilash chamasah karabhajanah iti bhagavatat. I don't know if it is even a verse or a prose. Wait. I will understand if I do this. Prose. Not all. This one was verse. Now it is prose. Second one is prose. इति भागवत धर्म दर्शना नव महाभागवतास्तेषां सुचरितं भगवन् महिमोपबृंहितं वसुदेव नारद संवादम् उपशमायनम् उपरिष्टाद् वर्णयिष्यामः. In addition to these sons were Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pippalayana, Avirhotra, Drumila, Chamasa and Karabhajana. These were all very exalted, advanced devotees and authorized preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam. These devotees were glorified due to their strong devotion to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they were very exalted. To satisfy the mind perfectly, I, Shukadeva Goswami, shall hereafter describe the characteristics of these 9 devotees when I discuss the conversation between Narada and Vasudeva. So actually, okay, I think I'll read the next one as well. Verse 13. Yaviyansa ekashitir jayante yah pitur adeshakara mahashalina mahashrotriya yajnashilah karma vishuddha brahmana babhuvuhu. In addition to these 19 sons mentioned above, There were 81 younger ones, all born of Rishabdev and Jayanti. According to the order of their father, they became well cultured, well behaved, very pure in their activities, and expert in Vedic knowledge and the performance of Vedic rituals. Thus, they all became perfectly qualified Brahmanas. Purport. Purport by Zivang Rajesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. From this verse, we have good information of how the castes are qualified according to quality and work. Rishabdev, a king, was certainly a Kshatriya. He had 100 sons, and out of these, 10 were engaged as Kshatriyas and ruled the planet. 9 sons became good preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahabhagavatas, and this indicates that they were above the position of Brahmanas. The other 81 sons became highly qualified Brahmanas. These are some practical examples of how one can become fit for a certain type of activity by qualification, not by birth. All the sons of Maharaj Rishabdev were Kshatriyas by birth, but by quality some of them became Kshatriyas and some became Brahmanas. 9 became preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavata Dharma Darshanaha, which means that they were above the categories of Kshatriya and Brahmana. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So these sons that are mentioned of Rishabdev, their description pretty much is until all the way until almost the end of the Bhagavatam, until the 11th end of the 11th canto. 12th canto is basically conclusion, predictions of Kali Yuga, and the last instructions of Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. So the major chunk of Srimad Bhagavatam is Rishabdev and his sons. So these 9 Mahabhagavatas, the Navayogendras, they are called Navayogendras. So Maharaj Nimi, his conversation with the Navayogendras is narrated by Narad Muni to Yudhishthir Maharaj, and that conversation is quoted by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. So it's actually all about conversations. So conversations are very important, especially when they are about Krishna. In fact, any conversation shapes the thinking of a person. Nowadays, podcasts are very popular. People are listening to podcasts because conversations, long form conversations, and you get a deep understanding of a particular subject and a particular mode of thinking of a person by listening to him for a prolonged version. Unlike these TikTok, YouTube shorts, and Instagram reels, which are just less than 1 minute. There's not much context but when there is a long form conversation, then there is understanding. Now, that's why in our devotional line. Shravanam is the first thing. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. So this is the core activity of devotees, Shravanam and Kirtanam. Now, Shukadeva Goswami quoting Narada Muni, who in turn was quoting the Navayogendras to Maharaj Nimi. This is the definition of Puran. Hare Krishna. Can you? I think that side is the problem. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. At the port, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I think for the online audience, this will be more clearer than with the mic, because mic there will be some kind of a resound. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Otherwise we can scrap the mic. We have to find a solution for this. I think that that end of the cable has to be repaired. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, never mind. Wasting our time. So, Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu. So the definition of Puran, yeah, that was what I was saying. Purana and Itihas, what is the difference? Itihas means history. Puran means old. But there is a difference between these two. Itihas, asa, thus it happened. The definition of itihas is dharmartha kama mokshanam upadesha samanvitam purvavritta katha yuktam itihasam prachakshate. This is from the Vishnu Dharmottar Puran, quoted in Brihad Bhagavatamrita 2.1.110. So 2.1, yeah, 1, yeah. So the meaning is that Purva Vritta Katha Yuktam, the narrations of past or historical incidences which instruct us on dharma, artha, kama, moksha, on religious principles, economic development, regulated sense gratification, and liberation. And of course, there is also prema, which is prema pumartho mahan, the fifth purushartha, panchama purushartha, which is also included in the superset of moksha. Prema is a subset of moksha. Prema is the highest elevation in moksha. So, prema may be of lesser mention in the Puranas, more of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, because people are of that gradation in spiritual advancement. And especially Bhagavatam is dealing with the highest, which is Bhagavatam, what is that? Pramanam Amalam. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. No, that is different. That is Bhagavatam verse itself. This is Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. This is the verse about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you know. Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Matamidam Tatradarana Paraha. So, the 5 aspects of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy. One of them is that Srimad Bhagavatam is the highest evidence of religious principles, highest scripture, and it advocates prema, love of Godhead, which is the highest manifestation of moksha. So, itihas means itiha asa, does it happen? And I have recorded it. That means the person who is writing it is observing what is happening and he is writing it as he is observing it. That is Itihasa. Valmiki was the same in the case of Ramayana, Vyasadeva in the case of Mahabharata. They were both there at the time. In fact, of course, Valmiki even wrote before it. It is said that he wrote before the thing even started, something like that. I'm not very sure though, because that's how it is shown sometimes, mostly in the movies, that he already wrote it before Ram came, everything. And Valmiki knew that this was Lava and Kusha. He knew it beforehand. Of course, I have to verify that, but these kind of munis, they are Trikalagya. Narad Muni is also Trikalagya. He knows what is going to happen, what is going to come. So, Valmiki was there at the time of Ramayana, Vyasadeva was there at the time of Mahabharata. But Puran means that which is carried down, narration which is not directly seen but heard from authoritative sources by disciplic succession, and then it is recorded much later. Like Prahlad Maharaj's activities were, millions of years old, but it was written 5,000 years ago in Bhagavatam. So such things, they're not exactly then and there happened. Does it happen at the time? No. It was much before. It was carried down by disciplic succession and then it was recorded. So that is Puran. So there is a technical difference between Itihas and Purana. So anyway, so in this way so each of these Sanskrit terms has specific significance, and when these words are used, they know exactly, those who know, they know exactly what they're talking about. They don't interchange one for the other. But of course, in Bhagavatam, we have also the activities of Krishna that happened there when Vyasadeva was there also. Like Uttara, Sukadeva Goswami, Parishad Maharaj, and stuff. Those incidences happened then and there. So it's kind of Itihas also is there in the Bhagavatam. But then conversations that happen at the time of much earlier histories. And if you see, it's a conversation within a conversation within a conversation within a conversation, like that. Bhagavatam, nested conversations. So, this Bharat Maharaj, his history is very pivotal in the Bhagavatam because his sons, their history carries forward all the way to the end of the Bhagavatam. Half of the Bhagavatam is almost their activities and related activities branching out to other activities. So the main focus on these kinds of Puran and Itihas, the main focus is not the chronology but the message. It doesn't really matter when it happened, but the things that we can learn from the history is what is described. So now in these few verses that we have read, very stark point here is the Varnashram system. And not only Varnashram, because the Mahabhagavatas were above the Varnashram. So the whole Vedic system is based on meritocracy and not on nepotism. Meritocracy means if you're qualified to do some work, you do that work. Which is, even now, that is the case. At least it's supposed to be. Sometimes there is nepotism and favoritism going on. But if you want a functioning system anywhere, you have to have qualified people to run the specific departments and tasks. Otherwise, it is just a system in name, but it has no relevance, no function, nothing. If I have in a company a chief executive officer who doesn't execute anything, then that is namesake. If I have a coder, software developer, he doesn't do anything about software developing, he is just maintaining some screws and nuts and bolts. And there is, it's a mismatch of the title and the work. So a person who is titled, his title should be according to the work he is doing. And also he has to serve a purpose in the entire mission of the organization. So now, today, the concept of varna and ashram and religion, in fact, has become just ceremonial. I profess this religion, you profess that religion, I profess this varna, you profess that varna. If you make it birth based, it will be of no relevance. I'm my great grandfather was an engineer, engineer. So 10 generations down, I'm engineer. Therefore, but I'm actually maybe doing some business. So how am I an engineer then anymore? So this namesake thing actually doesn't hold any water. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, and it is useless for all practical purposes. And therefore, religion today is relegated to a format, a position where it is just, if you want to practice, if that is what gives you strength to do our work, our economic work, that's fine, you do. It's your own personal thing. So, the secularism is a way in which the government is trying to divorce itself from religion. But that is exactly what should not be done. If the government is divorced from religion, then everything will fall apart. At every position, there has to be some law which has to govern. Even the governmental constitutional laws that are there in any country, the structure came from religion. I've explained this before. Even though you may say secular. For example, marriage. The definition of marriage is there in every constitution of every country. And based on that, the housing arrangement, the education arrangement for the children, the everything is based off of that definition of family being a man and a woman, and their relationship and their children in that way. And then there can be any semblance of any structure. But if you remove that, and where is that marriage coming from? The concept of marriage is from religion. So it's not a atheistic invention. No, it was a religious injunction in every religious form, and that only actually gave any order to even our current constitution, even though we may say it is secular or atheistic. What is that? Antagonistic. So, agnostic. Agnostic or atheistic, it cannot have any structure. So that is just that is not even proper structure. Family is just one aspect. What about if we consider the welfare? The government is supposed to be for the welfare of the people, and if we understand that we are eternal, then our welfare should be considered of not only in this life but also of the next life. And therefore, then the law of karma is there. So those things which are sinful should be prohibited by the government. Those things which are pious should be encouraged by the government. Those things which are spiritual should be, as much as possible encouraged. And all kind of arrangements should be made to propel the population towards that. So this is the function of the government, if they are for the welfare. Now, without God consciousness, without Krishna consciousness, atheism, where is the direction? What is the North Star? What is the goal? Where are we heading? There's no navigation, nothing works anymore. Everybody is having, so the only North Star there, say, is the economic development. So they say if you have more economic growth, then there will be more facilities for the people, and that will bring happiness. So artha and kama are sufficient, and it doesn't matter in which way we gather artha and which way we have kama. That is the thing that is going on. This is Asura civilization. No dharma. Dharma should be employed in the accumulation of artha. Artha means economic development. Kama means sense gratification. So dharma first, religious principles first, and then economic development, then regulated sense gratification. There is regulation is there, and that's where marriage all comes in. Otherwise, animals don't have marriage, they have karma without any restriction. And if we have the same thing here without any restriction, all structures are broken. Because now you may say, then there will be no structure even in animal life. Well, in animal life, there is a natural structure because, if you see in animal life, there is a certain season where the animals um, have the sexual desires aroused, not at all times. The animal can see the another animal naked and it won't be so disturbed if it is not in heat. But humans are not the same. We have such inordinately powerful senses that they can be aroused at any moment. And therefore, if you see in the animal kingdom, all the births happen at one time. Because the pregnancy period is certain period. And the copulation happens, there's a mating season where everybody mates. And then the children all come out almost at the same time. But that's not the case in human life. So, if we don't have any structure, all chaos, all hell breaks loose. So, everything has to be structured, and the structure is coming from religion. We did not invent the idea of marriage, we did not invent all these rules coming from religion. Therefore, if we naturally look for any structure, it has to come from God. So, following this system, Varnashram system, is the proper way to mold human life, humanity, towards God consciousness. The purpose of Varnashram system is to organize the society in such a way that everybody is employed in their respective duties and everybody's sustenance is taken care of, and employed, not just employed like our employment, what is that? Ministry of Manpower is there for employment. It is a very degenerated form of Varnashram. Because employment in Vedic civilization, the growth, the KPI, key performance index, is the spiritual development of the people, not the financial development of the people. Because if I have a lot of finances, then I will engage in sense gratification and my human life is destroyed. It's ruined. So that is not the focus of Vedic civilization. Somebody the other day, he was asking, I was saying in the live stream that we should not, Vedic system is not capitalist and not communist as well. It is not capitalist because capitalism involves profit making. And profit making inherently involves exploitation. For example, if I have to manufacture a phone, why they have factories in China? Cheap labor. That means if you pay the same same amount for labor in America, there will be protests. But because the other country, they do not have such exposure of convenience that is found in America, they will accept the less salary. So they're basically exploiting. But if they come to know, and if there is a way that they can fight it, they will fight it. Just because they're not fighting does not mean it is not exploitation. You are trying to exploit them and then get it cheaper. My screen will be gone, right? What? Yeah, I shared entire screen, no? What? Okay. So, what was I saying? You wait for a while. Came, right? It is there, I can see. There?
only the browser window because usually only window. Just now when you are pressing my screen, right? Last.
Oh, okay. Where were we? Had totally lost everything. Where was I? Uh, anyway, I was telling something. So anyway, this is what I hate. Absolutely hate distractions. Huh?
Exploitation of capitalism.
Yeah, that's where I was. Exploitation. Capitalism means exploitation. Just profit making. There's no ethics. Somehow or other, if you can get profit, only when there is protest, then you will try to address so-called ethical principles to keep population at at peace. Don't shake the leg. At peace, so that you can run your thing. And as long as people don't see those exploitations, you will continue with the exploitation as long as there is no protest. It's only a damage control one does when there is protest. So there is no real welfare. And to oppose this, there came communism. But communism is just another way of exploitation. Because there is certain elite class of people, they will have all kinds of luxuries, whereas the rest, they are treated so-called equally. And again, it's all based on atheism, and they're not rewarded in any way. Materially, there's no reward. Spiritually, there's no reward. The harder you work is not that you will get more. And a combination of both is found today in China, kind of socialist, not communist, not capitalist, but a mixture of both, socialist state, which is kind of have some semblance of capitalism where there is businesses and everything, but then the government is absolutely communist. There is no democracy, nothing. So they're trying to do that, and you can see the result. Yeah, maybe you can have all this infrastructure. I mean, flyovers and trains and metros, metropolitan cities. But the quality of the life of the people, spiritually speaking, is zero. So the Vedic system is none of these. Not socialist, not capitalist, not communist. Ours is, of course, Srila Prabhupada says spiritual communism. Ours is based on the same concept of communism, but where Krishna is the leader, and for him everything has to be done. And ye yathamam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamiham. As much as we do for him, that much we will be rewarded. And it's not just material reward; it's more spiritual reward. We should not equate spiritual advancement to material progress. Oh, if I get more riches, that means I'm more spiritually advanced. No, that's not the case. Brahmanas stay impoverished, but they're spiritually most advanced. So anyway, we are. So he was asking in that live stream, oh, but then what is our system? Then our system is actually welfare system, spiritual welfare system, where everybody, the Varnashram system is geared towards spiritual advancement of everybody. Of course, you need artha. It is not that we don't have artha. There has to be the army. There has to be production of natural supplies. And what is the point of becoming a millionaire, for example? You can be rich, yes, but then what are you going to do with that? Why do you need so much money? We don't need, actually. It's unnecessary. So the whole point in Vedic civilization is that you can just stay with as much as you have and then use the rest of it for welfare and um, Krishna consciousness, which is the highest welfare. So, for example, Nanda Maharaj, he had 900,000 cows, almost a million cows. That is considered rich. Richness in those days was counted by how many cows you have, how much land you have, um, and of course gold and such um, important things which were actually precious. Unlike today, just paper, speculation, just distorted financial system. But finances don't have to be so distorted and so complicated, actually. They just have to be very simple. The greed is what made financial system so complex. I still today I cannot understand much of the financial system because I don't know. It's just like in financial instruments, just they will know all banking, bankers. So too many financial instruments of everything, everything, and everything. So what is the need? Basically, we need food, we need shelter, we need clothing. If these can be had by all the population, that's it. There is no overpopulation. Overpopulation. What is overpopulation? It means you don't have enough resources on the planet to support those extra growth in population. Why the rich has to be having 80 cars and what is the need? You don't need anything actually. Um, so all that can be distributed to the other people who actually need. And it's only because of greed that there is so-called mismanagement, and then we conveniently blame population for it, as if there's no mistake on my part. So in this way we are going on. So taxes have to be paid, and if if the country, if the ruler he takes care of the people just like a father does, people will be glad to pay taxes. That tax is actually a religious contribution, because such tax will go into the upkeep of the country, spiritually, materially, everything. The kshatriyo hi praja rakshan shastrapani pradandayan nirjitya parasainyadi kshitim dharmena palayet. This is the duty of kshatriya as stated in Parashar Smriti. It is quoted in 232 purport of Bhagavad Gita. Now this is important. Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties. And for that reason, he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of inimical kings, and thus, with religious principles, he should rule over the world. So, there is no way that the government can exist without religion. Kshitim dharmena palayat. With dharma, one has to rule the world. And now, protect. Kshatriya means kshat trayate. Kshat means suffering, difficulty. Protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties. What are the kinds of difficulties that are there? What are the kinds of difficulties? We are saying all kinds of difficulties. What are the kinds of difficulties that are there? Okay, those are for those who cannot do anything even with the ruler. Huh? Adhyatmik, adhibhautik, adhidaivik. So the ruler's position is not on duty is not only to protect from another army, which is adhibhautik misery, but adhyatmik. For example, disease can be adhyatmik, adhibhautik, partly both. Because if I'm healthy, if I take care of my health, then lesser chance of disease affecting me. So that's adhyatmik. But the disease itself may be a parasite, it can be adhibhautik. A combination. So it's not exactly always pure adhyatmik, adhibhautik, adhidevik. It's a combination of all. Now, all he has to protect, adhyatmik. So there should be no disease. So there has to be cleanliness. There has to be. Now we are only counting material or physical, gross bodily sufferings. What about the mental suffering? Adhyatmik. That is also adhyatmik. Then there is daivik, natural calamities which come because of the dissatisfaction of the demigods, because of our non-performance of yajna. So there religion comes in. So therefore, and let me show you. A little bit more detailed explanation of Kshatriya's duties in this verse, 429.81, I think. So here in this verse, प्राचीन बर्हि राजर्षि प्रजा सर्गाभिरक्षणे आदिश्य पुत्रान अगमत तपसे कपिलाश्रमम. Now this second line, praja sargabhirakshane, this is rajarshi. First of all, he has to be raja and rishi at the same time. He has to be a sagacious king, a sage by character and a king by profession. Now such a rajarshi, praja sargabhirakshane. Now that phrase is explained in the purport. Now the word praja sarga is very important in this verse. When the saintly king Prachina Barhi was induced by the great sage Narada to leave home and take to the devotional service of the Lord, his sons had not yet returned from their austerities in the water. However, he did not wait for their return, but simply left messages to the effect that his sons were to protect the mass of citizens. According to Veera Raghava Acharya, this is from Sri Sampradaya, such protection means organizing the citizens into the specific divisions of the 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. It was the responsibility of the royal order to see that the citizens were following the regulative principles of the 4 varnas, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and ashramas, namely Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. It is very difficult to rule citizens in a kingdom without organizing this varnashram dharma. To rule the mass of citizens in a state and keep them in a complete progressive order is not possible simply by passing laws every year in a legislative assembly. The Varnashram dharma is essential in a good government. One class of men, the Brahmanas, must be intelligent and Brahmanically qualified. Another class must be trained in administrative work, Kshatriya, another in mercantile business, Vaishya, and another simply in labor, Shudra. These 4 classes of men are already there according to nature, but it is the government's duty to see that all 4 of these classes follow the principles of their Varnas methodically. This is called Abhirakshana or protection. When this is done, then people are employed, number 1. Why unemployment is there today? It's not because there are not enough jobs. There are enough jobs for all. But people are trained only to become Shudras. The Brahmana positions are vacant, completely vacant. Kshatriyas are almost completely vacant because all Kshatriyas, basically Mlechas, are ruling the world. So those who are not qualified are occupying the post of such elevated positions, and people who are qualified to become Brahmanas, they are trained to become Shudras, and they are very proud of it. Oh, Sundar Pichai, Satya Nadella, Parag Agarwal, and all kinds of Indians who are dominating the tech space and even now political space, like Rishi Sunak in Britain. So that is counted as, oh, we are now the leaders in every sphere. But no, that is not the point. Not to become a leader among Shudras. That's not the certificate we want to have or we want to boast about. We should, everybody should be employed according to Varnashram, and then there will be enough. There will be enough employment. How can there not be enough employment if you do this Varnashram? There's no way that you will have unemployment. There's no chance. Now there is an inordinate supply of Shudras and not much demand for Shudras. AI is taking over. Many jobs, millions of jobs will be laid off just because of AI. So, the other day, I was this video clip surfaced, and it was in America. So one of the news anchor, he is kind of a political activist as well, but he is not running any government position in America. So he was asked, if you were to become president, would you remove the jobs of the truck drivers and replace it with AI? I mean, like what, self-driving trucks, if the technology comes to that point. He said, absolutely no, because they need income. So we have to have truck drivers. Now, there is some truth to that. In fact, we are also not, the tractors have rendered the bulls useless, and therefore they are now being killed. So although it is taken as a sign of advancement, technological advancement, but it is a regression in the matter of religious principles. So you are having it only at the cost of religious principles, the economic development that we are having. So in that way, yes, maybe AI will this. But if one is trained according to the guna and karma and employed accordingly, then AI can come or whatever can come. I mean, sages had huge yogic powers, which is basically like, you know, not artificial intelligence, real intelligence. And they can manifest planets, they can manifest aeroplanes, they can, Pushpaka Viman was just flying at will. You don't need a pilot. Then pilot job is lost. Oh, no, they're not really, know. And so it is not really a concern, because if the pilot job is gone, there's no other job. No, there is jobs. If one is trained for that, then why not he take other jobs which are more valuable? We need millions of brahmanas. Prabhupada said if even 1% of the population is brahmanas, the whole world will be purified. 1% only enough. And if you take 8 billion people, 1% is 80 million brahmanas. Qualified, not these namesake useless fellows. Yeah. If we have, suppose devotees, Hare Kṛṣṇa devotees, 80 million preachers. Brahmanas means Brahma Janati, so Janati, with some knowledge should be there, and not like sitting down rascals, Prabhupada said. No? I don't want sitting down rascals, I want Arjuna or I want no one. So, of course, we have to be that category. Of course, some people will be doing Vaishya work, which is like farm, cow protection, but we have to have by example and by preaching, by precept and by example, we must have people teaching the proper way of life. So some people will teach by speaking, other people will teach just by living their life. Now, if there is, suppose, a farm community, cow protection, agriculture, and their devotees are actually taking care of the farm and growing crops and taking care of cows. Just by doing that, they are putting an example. They are teaching the population on a practical alternative to modern Ugra Karma life. Ugra Karma means horrible work. So much work that it saps out the very human energy completely. The life is wasted. Morning to night working and night also working, and so no time for spiritual life, no time for anything. The focus is work life. So it has become like that now. It should not be like that. The order has reversed. Now, most important is work. Is that so? Or home? But most time is spent in work. Next home, then next temple last. If you have time, once in a year, festival time, you go and bow down and come back. So it should be the other way around. That temple should be first, spiritual life is first, the soul is first. I mean, we are the soul. Yes, we have to have some activities in adjusting with this material world. That we have to do. But the main focus is spiritual growth. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said there are two kinds of instructions. In Bhaktivinoda Thakur, both of them. Prabhupada also repeated that. Two types of instructions in the Vedas. One type of instruction is how to adjust in this material world, how to live in this material world without getting contaminated by it. And second instruction is how to grow our spiritual life. Pure cultivation. So, pravritti marga, nivritti marga. So, for those who are still attached, most of us are attached, and therefore there is this transition phase, which is the Varnashram system. Varnashram system is a transition phase from material to spiritual, a smooth transition, where the guna and karma of the person, material guna and karma, they are put to good use, and he is encouraged in spiritual growth, in Krishna consciousness, and eventually he will become purely spiritual. That is sannyas, that is sannyasi and Mahabhagavat here. The 9 sons of Bharat, Navayogendras, they became Mahabhagavat. They were ready for that, they went. Others were not as advanced, they became Brahmanas. Others were not as advanced, they became Kshatriyas. But not really not advanced, but they were also ruling according to religious principles. And today, our provinces, like even Malaysia, is one of the sons of Bharat Maharaj, Malaya. Malayalam is also Malaya. Malay also is Malaya. I think both there is some kind of connection. I am speculating. So, Malaya and Kikata means Bihar, Bihar province, that is Kikata Desha. That verse where Buddha is predicted in Bhagavatam, Kikateshu, and is mentioned there. So Kikata is actually one of the sons of Bharat Maharaj. So in this way, if you see, Bharatvarsh was the whole planet, and all those subdivisions of those planets are named according to different kings. But ultimately, it was Bharatvarsh. So in this way, varnas and ashramas are, instituted naturally. And actually, that is my current article for the magazine, Gotra Dharma. So all these words are actually related to Gotra. Right? Varna, Kula, Jati, Santana, Parampara, Sampradaya, Parivar. All these are related. And if you take only the seminal descent, it will become irrelevant after some time. Even if I say I am from this Gotra, how am I going to verify? Who is going to verify it? Just accept. And even if I am in that Gotra, how is it relevant today? Except for maybe marriage where, incest is avoided by proper knowing of Gotra or something like that. Other than that, what is the real purpose of Gotra? Flaunting our Gotra or whatever. What is the real purpose? Doesn't make any sense. But if you make it based on guna and karma, it becomes the life force of universal management. And that is the actual topic of that article. It's not just relevant and traceable, but it becomes a life force of how to manage the entire system, materially and spiritually. That's why that word, Yatkrito Gotra Dharma, one of the 5 glories, the 5 glories of Krishna is summarized in 10:90:47. So, Yatkrito Gotra Dharma, that phrase is actually one of the most important, because when Krishna comes and goes, he does pastimes and goes. But then Dharma Samsthapanarthaya, he says, I come here to re-establish religious principles. Now he does that on many fronts. Many fronts. He makes his devotees appear in families and purifies those families. Because family traditions become degenerated over time. So when the devotees become manifest in such families, again it's reset. So even though sometimes devotees may take birth in odd families, sometimes. Hanuman, monkey. Jatayu, bird. Vulture. And we have many examples from downtrodden families who became Satyakam Jabal of Chandogya Upanishad. There are so many examples in our Vedic history where downtrodden people are, purified by proper instruction, proper culture. So, such things are mentioned in our Shastra. And if we do by guna and karma like that, then it becomes very relevant, very traceable. If I am saying I am Gaudiya Vaishnava, I am a descendant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Nityananda Prabhu, Nityananda Vamsha is there. They are doing by seminal line. But after some time, they don't look like any devotees. What is the use of Nityananda Vamsha or the Yadava? Some people say they flaunt. I used to go to school in auto. 10 people, 10 students like the neighborhoods, they all go to school. So that auto driver, his name was some Yadav. He's saying, I'm Yadav. Krishna, we worship Krishna. You're driving auto. And he's not doing any worship of Krishna, nothing. Sometime, maybe once in a while, he will go to some temple somewhere. And he'll go to every demigod temple also, like that in the same way. So, what is the meaning of Yadav? What is the meaning of some families have Goswami in their title? One actress is also Goswami. No? One Bollywood actress is Goswami, half naked Goswami. So, then we have big title, Chaturvedi, Trivedi, Rigvedi. So, like this, there are so many. All these are namesake now. Now, Trivedi, if somebody has Trivedi, it's just like, what? Not even one Veda, not even one shloka he knows of one Veda. So, what is the point? So, it is just a namesake. But when it is, if I am Trivedi and if I actually know three Vedas, then yes, it is relevant. The title has relevance. If I say doctor, so and so, I understand that he is either a medically professional doctor or a doctorate of philosophy, research in particular subject. There is some relevance to the title. Now these are all titles. If I am a Gaudiya Vaishnava, if I say I am a Gaudiya Vaishnava, and I should be checked whether my behavior is as a Gaudiya Vaishnava. Otherwise, I am not true to my descent or my parampara or my disciplic succession. So it doesn't matter whether one is seminal or not seminal. It's not that seminal descendants are immediately rejected. No. If they are qualified, they should be as good as any other descendant. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We never say that it is nepotism. Oh, Bhaktivinoda Thakur Acharya, therefore he made his son also into an Acharya in the same disciplic succession. Corruption is going on. Then the six Goswami also corrupted, no? Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, all two uncles, one nephew. Nepotism is going on. No, there were quality. Nobody questions nepotism there because there is qualification. And the kings, they used to be, yes, the next in line, the son, like that, they used to become kings, but nobody used to question. No protest because they were qualified. If you're qualified, nobody will object to your nepotism. Nepotism is only condemned when the descendant is an utter fool and then he is occupying the post. So then everything makes sense. Everything is traceable. Oh, you are, actually, Gotra is only one aspect. There are four. There is Gotra, there is Sutra, there is, what is that? Division. That means, actually, you will find this in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva, when he wrote the four Vedas, he taught his disciples and he gave them, okay, the Rig Veda, this Sutra, this few Sutra, okay, you take over. So they study that and then they propagate that and then they expand on it and like that. So and some people, they will learn three Vedas altogether. Some people, some four Vedas. Dvivedi, Trivedi, Chaturvedi, like that. Or Ekvedi they don't say because they say by the name. Yajurvedi, Rigvedi, like that. So there is Gotra, there is Sutra, there is two others, I forget. So then, so many. So that means your family is studying this section of the Vedas and they're expert at this. If somebody else wants to consult, another scholar of another section of the Vedas wants to consult about this, he will approach this family where this is particularly studied and expanded upon, and then they can have such knowledge sharing, and then in this way, they are experts. It's not that they don't know the other sections of the Vedas, but they're expert in this. So in this way, Vedic study was divided. And when a person is Mahabhagavat, then he reconciles all the different religious instructions and he propagates the ultimate conclusion of all religion. Dharmasya tattvam nihito guhayam mahajano yena gatah sapantha. Mahajan, Mahatma, who are completely surrendered to Krishna, pure devotees, they propagate pure devotional service. Such persons may not be very expert in some technical aspects of the Vedas, especially in the Karmakanda section. They may not be even very good at pronouncing the words, but they are very expert in the conclusions of scriptures. That is stated here. Shaunaka the Rishi, the Rishi is headed by Shaunaka in the Naimisharanya. They told Suta Goswami this. They glorified Suta Goswami, but it sounds like a partial insult. Let's look at this. Tatsarvam na samachakshva krishto yadiha kinchana manye tvam vishaye vacham snatam anyatra chandasat. Sorry. See this glorification. It's a peculiar glorification. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portion of the Vedas. And thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you. They did not say, you are expert in all sections of the Vedas. No. You are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portion. Is that an insult or a praise? It sounds like a partial insult there, but the purport clarifies. The difference between the Vedas and the Puranas is like that between the Brahmanas and the Parivrajakas. The Brahmanas are meant to administer some fruitive sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas, but the Parivrajaka Acharyas or learned preachers are meant to disseminate transcendental knowledge to one and all. As such, the Parivrajaka Acharyas are not always expert in pronouncing the Vedic mantras, which are practiced systematically by accent and meter by the Brahmanas, who are meant for administering Vedic rites. Yet, it should not be considered that the Brahmanas are more important than the itinerant preachers. Itinerant means traveling. Itinerant preachers. They are one and different simultaneously because they are meant for the same end in different ways. There is no difference also between the Vedic mantras and what is explained in the Puranas and Itihasas. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, it is mentioned in the Madhyandina Shruti that all the Vedas, namely the Sama, Atharva, Rig, Yajur, Puranas, Itihasas, Upanishads, etc., are emanations from the breathing of the Supreme Being. The only differences are that the Vedic mantras mostly begin with the Pranava Omkara and that it requires some training to pronounce the metrical accent, without which the mantras cannot be successfully chanted. Although Srila Suta Goswami was a preacher of the first order, that means the best preacher, he did not bother much about the metrical pronunciation of the Vedic mantras. But that does not mean that Srimad Bhagavatam is of less importance than the Vedic mantras. On the contrary, it is the ripened fruit of all the Vedas, as stated before. Besides that, the most perfectly liberated soul, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, is absorbed in the studies of the Bhagavatam, although he is already self-realized. Srila Suta Goswami is following in his footsteps, and therefore his position is not the least less important because he was not expert in chanting Vedic mantras with metric pronunciation, which depends more on practice than actual realization. Realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. So, this is the difference between the Parivrajaka Acharyas and Brahmanas. This is the difference between just pronunciation of Vedic mantras and actual realization of the conclusion of all the Vedas. So, another phrase that Subala Prabhu shared the other time, I think it's, I don't know, Saragrahi and Bharavahi. So, Saragrahi means those who are extractors of essence. Bharavahi means those who are carriers of burden. So, if I carry so much burden of wealth, which does not give me Krishna consciousness, if I have taken so much labor to memorize so many shlokas, so many everything, but in the end I don't have devotion for the Lord, then it is bharavahi. It is carrying of burden only. Shrama eva hi kevalam. Bharavahi. Saragrahi means to take the essence. That does not mean that he does not know anything. He actually knows everything. But he also knows how to take out the essence. It actually does not depend either way. So, classic example is Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. One of them, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji is practically an illiterate. He does not even know how to sign his name. He does not know. On the other hand, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his own disciple, is a scholar of unprecedented proportions. So, both of them are equally Mahabhagavatas. So, that advancement in spiritual life is not dependent on material education or not. Both are Saragrahis. And in the if person is a devotee, any other qualifications he may have will become beautified because of his devotion. Not that a devotee's beauty is because of those qualifications, material qualifications. Huh? IIT or anything does not actually give any credibility to any person, because when he talks, he must make sense. If you make sense when you talk, they don't care about where you come from actually. If the audience can learn something and it is explained in clear, concise, clear terms, people will accept. That is the whole thing. So the credentials, the material credentials, don't give the beauty or don't add to the beauty of the devotee. His devotional qualifications beautify whatever other qualifications he may have. Like Rupa Goswami, the way he writes, the way he composes verses, with so much alliteration, with so much ornamentation, even it sounds nice. Like, it is one thing to have very high philosophy, but to present it in a way which is very attractive is another thing, right? Even Srimad Bhagavatam, so many verses. There is metrical, there is actually the whole scriptures are like that. Only these few verses here in these chapters are full of prose, this fifth canto, but mostly are all, poetry. I think the light is on. The light is on. So the whole thing is poetry. Have you seen a scientist, Albert Einstein, writing his thesis in poem, relativity in poem? No, you don't. Almost don't. Maybe they will do maybe one or two here and there, but they don't explain their theories in poetry. But here we have our highest philosophy, but that's not enough for such composers. They want to make it attractive so that people can be attracted and can retain such knowledge. They are thinking very much of the end user, and this is called user experience, the end student. So, can the student easily grasp this and memorize this and retain it for his own usage? So, not simply loosely telling some concepts. Of course, that is also has a place. There are essays written by acharyas, it is all there. But to put it in a way where it is in verse format, the versification of all philosophy, that is at a different level of ornamentation. You have to require poetic skills, you have to have so much, and how much time it takes usually to write a poem compared to writing just a paragraph. But they do it very prolifically because of course practice and. But such things only are beautified because of the devotion of. If the same poet, now today in Bollywood, Tollywood and all this, they are writing songs. Yes, they have musical sense, they have metrical ornamentation. Subject matter is what? Recently one song got Oscar. Natu Natu. The whole song is Natu 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 Natu. So one word just repeating, Oscar. So, so there's not much ornamentation. The meaning is nothing there. What is there? And even if you see the lyrics, they don't make sense. What kind of lyrics is this? And they're getting big recognition. Acharyas should get the recognition. What kind of songs they compose? what kind of meaning they have. Highest philosophy in song format. Nice to sing. It's entertainment for you. It's retainment for you. It is instructive for you. Attractive. So we are interested in other things than philosophy in the beginning, at least. We are interested in drama. So there is itihasas to attract, like Mahabharata, Ramayana. There is so much drama going on that attracts people, and then eventually they are led to the message of it. Bhagavad Gita is the same way. Um, and other people are interested in poetry. Poetry is actually, music is universal. Everybody has interest in music. Any good music, everybody taps. But instead of doing bhajan mandali for some Bollywood rascals, we should do bhajan for Krishna. So, so that songs are composed by the acharyas, and songs, even the verses are like songs only. We can sing them. And all the stutis, we have Kunti stuti, we have Bhishma stuti, we have so many stuti, Gopi Gita, Brahmara Gita, full of Prahlad Gita, Prahlad stuti, Vritrasura, all kinds of devotees, all over the Bhagavatam, everywhere. And we can memorize all that and purify ourselves. So this is perfection of, but Saragrahya. We must be Saragrahya. Take the essence. That is devotee. Okay, I think it's getting very late. I'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Yeah, the predominant point in this verses is in the same family, among the same siblings, different ashrams. That is important to note. The recognition of the acharyas is coming from the supreme judge, Krishna. Yeah. So, Oscar and all this, what is the point? So, real recognition is as Krishna, he recognizes. And people actually learn something. When you read acharyas, life changes, complete 180 degrees shift. We are going towards hell, 180 degrees back to Godhead. So, that is the shift in the perspective of the people that happens. Again, hell. So, all right, I think I will stop it here. Yeah. No. So the question is, material varnas are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and spiritual varnas are Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. No, they are ashramas. Varnas and ashramas. The end goal is spiritual. The classification is based on material qualities. But the purpose is spiritual. Both. And when one is totally spiritual, like these Navayogendras, they are not even classified amongst Brahmanas. They are Paramahamsas, Mahabhagavatas. They are actually above Varnashram system, and that is what Babaji Vesh means, actually that. When one wears Babaji, gets Babaji title and Vesh, that is actually above Varnashram system. They give up even the sacred thread. Even sannyasi has sacred thread. Babajis don't have. They wear white color cloth. Sometimes they just wear kopin only, nothing else. And they don't have any thread also. Yes, of course it is said that when, so the question is for those online people. So in Varna there is consideration of the guna and karma. So in the ashram, is there consideration of guna and karma? So yes, one thing is, when the spiritual master initiates, the karma is taken away. But karma-like situations are imposed upon the devotee to elevate him spiritually, that look like tribulations but actually tests and springboards to next levels of advancement. That is stated in the 10.14.8, the purport. Susamikshamano. That, what is that? तत्तेनुकंपां सुसमीक्षमाणो भुञ्जान एवात्मकृतं विपाकं हृद्वाग्वपुर्भिर्विदधन् नमस्ते जीवितयो मुक्तिपदे सदाय भाव. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. And here, you see, Lord Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who fully surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of his previous karma. However, because in his mind a devotee may still maintain the remnants of his previous sinful mentality, the Lord removes the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit by giving his devotee punishments that may sometimes resemble sinful reactions. The purpose of the entire creation, of course, is to reduce our sense gratificatory tendencies. So, now initiation also is subjective. That is explained by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his essay, that initiation, the effect of initiation is subjective. It is not the same on all disciples. It depends on one's willingness to execute the order of the spiritual master, and based on that willingness, one gets the advancement. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. So again, initiation is also not namesake, just like Varna and all this is not namesake. So if I get a name, it should not be namesake. One should live up to that name. Like Bhaktivedanta Swami. So Prabhupada writes in the poem when he reached Boston Harbor that my name is given Bhakti Vedanta. Then he prays to Krishna, please fulfill the real purport of this name, if you so desire. I don't have bhakti, I don't have knowledge, but my name is Bhakti Vedanta. So Krishna, please fulfill, this thing. So in that way, humbly Prabhupada wrote. But it should have meaning. If my name is Govinda Das, then I should behave like Govinda Das. So that is the whole point of it. Just by name and then my activity is something else, then, So initiation is also like that. Just because I'm initiated, now I'm liberated. Some people, they beg, they really cry for initiation sometimes. We said, no, Prabhu, you have to come more often. No, Prabhu, I'll definitely come, Prabhu. Please, I don't know how. One person like this, I don't want to name him. But, he was like, Prabhu, I don't know how long I will live anymore. I'm already 51 years old. I really want to advance, I really want initiation. So serious until, I was thinking he's going to become Acharya. That kind of seriousness he exhibited. After initiation, never to be found. Sometimes come and take prasadam, lunchtime or evening time. Never found. Never found for a single Mangalarti after that. I told him, Prabhu, actually you are not qualified. Okay? But, okay, since you are showing, this thing, initiation. So Prabhu gave. I will get some karma for recommending. Because after that, never lived up to the promise. Not just one, another lady was coming. So diligently helping in the kitchen, everything. And so serious, 16 rounds, everything. Took initiation. I think none of you will know before. Then initiation. Next day. Never to be found from the next day until now. 10 years passed. Not even once, not even festivals or sometime prasadam, nothing. Singapore. Not even once. They think initiation means liberation. This kind of devotees, that's why it is to be said that 6 months, why is this said? Of course, Prabhupada also initiated some instantaneously, but even sometimes 6 months also they did properly, but then later on became idiots. went against the Guru, so many things happened. So, of course, we cannot, some due diligence has to be done. We cannot guarantee that it will never happen, fall down. It always depends on our introspection and our self evaluation every time, at all times. If we are not self evaluating ourselves, comfortable just because no misery is there, okay, I think, Krishna is blessing me, otherwise, why am I so comfortable? So, I'm okay. At this position, I'm okay, no? And when Krishna gives some jhatka, then I will be fully gone. All the water will come out like pitchkari. He'll give jhatka and will pitchkari. Come out everything. And then he'll be starting, offending devotees. The classic example I see when the devotee is not advanced is he cannot take chastisement. It is tested when he is chastised. When he is chastised, he will make the devotee's enemy. How can he say like this? I say, why you cannot say like this? Why you cannot say? What is the problem? Huh? Can I show you some examples of more drastic and more dramatic things that were said by acharyas? You want me to tell? So I will ask them like this. You mean to say this is so much unacceptable to you? Why don't you take the intention? Even if it is sounded harsh, what is the intention? Huh? Is it not good for you if you take it in the right way? So why can't I take it like that? You mean a devotee should absolutely not scold anybody, not chastise anybody? He will smiling only? Is that a devotee? What is the meaning of the association of devotees? Association means not simply gathering around sitting down, chit-chatting, gossip, That is not association of devotees. Oh, I will not associate with karmis because all gossip. I will associate devotees and do gossip. That is not association of devotees. What happens in devotee association? यत्रोत्तम श्लोक गुणानुवाद प्रस्तूयते ग्राम्य कथा विघातः निषेव्यमाणो नुदिनं मुमुक्षोर्मतिं सतीं यच्छति वासुदेवे. I have a beautiful story regarding this. Happened last week. No, this week. Okay, let me. Who are the pure devotees mentioned here? In an assembly of pure devotees, there is no question of discussing material subjects like politics and sociology. In an assembly of pure devotees, there is discussion only of the qualities, forms, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is praised and worshipped with full attention in the association of pure devotees. By constantly hearing such topics respectfully, even a person who wants to merge into the existence of the absolute truth abandons his idea and gradually becomes attached to the service of Vasudeva. This is pure devotees. Good example. Sorry, just 2 minutes. So we went to the farm. 2 days we were there. The first day, there was one man who used to come to the farm. Not used to, he is now also coming every day, almost. Indian man. He came. So Prabhu was talking to him. So his profession, he used to be something. Now he is having some, of course, he's still in the meat industry. He's rearing some chicken. So that is one aspect. But apart from that, his main core, this thing is now, it used to be his hobby, now his profession. Still his hobby. Artifact collection, relic collection from ancient times, 1900s, 1800s, 1700s, or whatever, in those times. So he has a metal detector. He'll go around everywhere, collect some coins he showed us some coin from the 17th century, like hexagonal shape, some crude way of coin. So that was there, some engraving was also there on that. That kind of thing was there. So he was saying, he is saying that there is so much gold in this area. So he got one stone, and then the stone, there's so much shining. If you can turn like this, so much shining thing. He said this is gold dust. So he was saying like that. So he was talking about this thing, that thing, and he was talking about of course he told that I did not take the vaccine and all that, and then he was saying Illuminati and all these things. Okay, fine. And then he was going in this way, and he was not having any religious aspect or religious viewpoint of life. So at one point, you know, Prabhu, okay, he was having a conversation with him and tagging along with what he was saying, and and then suddenly he said, you know, yeah, but this Illuminati and all this, you think they are controllers? They are not controllers. Krishna is the Illuminati of the Illuminati. Then he started preaching, and the rest 1.5 hours, solid preaching. So, devotees may engage in conversation with outsiders, and in fact, he very, very much appreciated also, you know, at the end. So, he may start off with, because that is where they are at. So, a devotee meets them. Sometimes he may engage in conversation similar to theirs, but then he routes it to Krishna consciousness. he, he was basically a gold digger. Gold digger? He was literally a gold digger. So he made him into person who can become a devotee now. So gold digger, of course, people who, those girls who, opportunists, they find some guy who are, rich, and then they want to be their girlfriend and wife, and so they can get all the perks. That's gold digger. So he was practically a gold digger. So actually, we are all like that only. We are opportunists. We are gold diggers. Even when we come to Krishna only for our material benefits, that is also gold diggers only. I mean, because he has everything, he can do everything. Please do this for me. Because God can do everything, so you do this for me. So, so there's actually gold diggers. So now we have to become, devotees, where it's only for Krishna. So that is the association that is a changing thing in the association of devotees. That is what makes a place a dham. Purifying factor is the association of devotees. You can bathe in the Ganga for 50 years. You will not have the same realization. By that doing and snan, maybe you will associate some sadhus who are also coming for the Ganga snan. And there, that's how you will. Of course, snan is also purifying. But then, the association of the sadhus is the real thing. Of course, there are verses on that. So, that's the point. So, all right, I think I'll stop here. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद।